struck by a vehicle.
Newly released body cam video shows a fitness influencer allegedly intentionally hitting a Miami police officer with his motorcycle, mowing him down and leaving him in the street. But not long after, both the rider and his passenger also ended up injured on the ground. We are taking a closer look at this footage and the consequences this man could face. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, real quick, this is a Law&Crime legal alert. If you received Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible for a lawsuit. That's right, Morgan & Morgan is investigating claims that patients were improperly warned about this risk. It's free to check, just takes a few minutes, and you don't pay unless they win. So scan the QR code on screen, click the link below, or go to forthepeople.com/LCDepo to see if you qualify. Personal trainer Armando Fogaça is used to going viral for his ridiculous strength, posting videos to YouTube and Instagram showing him crushing a watermelon with his bare hands or bending a hammer in half. But now he's in the spotlight for another reason entirely, allegedly running down a police officer with his motorcycle and leaving him lying in the street. This happened back in May in Miami Beach, Florida, and this led to the 37-year-old being locked up without bond. So what we're going to do is go through this body cam footage. It is something, to say the least, and I'm not going to do it alone. I'm joined right now by Florida trial attorney Alexis Rosenberg. Alexis, great to see you. Thanks for coming back here on Sidebar. You know, look, body-worn cameras, they have really changed the game when it comes to investigations, when it comes to prosecutions, when it comes to even, by the way, defenses, right? It's this video evidence, what's stronger than this?
Juries love video evidence. I mean, and like you said, it's good for both sides, not just the prosecution. From a defense end, it's very good to have that as well.
So let's go through it. So we go back to May 5th. Miami Beach police officer Anthony Guzman stepped out onto the street to stop a couple that was riding on a motorcycle. And according to a police report, Officer A. Guzman was stopping violators for making a right turn onto 5th Street on a solid red light. Posted sign states, "No right turn on red." Now, as Officer Guzman motions for the bike to slow down, it does, coming to almost a complete stop. But then the motorcyclist appears to speed back up, knocking Officer Guzman over in the process. Take a look. Now here's the problem. You might be saying, oh, it was an accident. Maybe he stepped on the accelerator too fast. I don't know. Problem is the motorcyclist doesn't stop to check on the officer. Takes off. Officer Guzman radios in what just happened in the hopes that another officer might be able to pick up the pursuit.
I just been struck by a vehicle. Fled from me westbound on the MacArthur. It's going to be a motorcycle, gray in color, occupied by two. Driver has a helmet.
Alexis, that's a problem, right? That video seems pretty blatant. I think it kind of would be hard to argue that maybe the rider didn't see what was going on, didn't know what happened, something like that. That video seems pretty straightforward, no?
Well, I mean, the video is a little unclear because you're seeing it from the body cam perspective, opposed to if it was coming from a building where we were seeing all angles. He is stating that he did not mean to hit the officer. I could see a situation where he was definitely trying to escape, but he was trying to go around the officer and not hit him. But the bottom line is he did hit the officer with the motorcycle.
So in other words, let's be clear about this. It's going to be hard to say that, because he was slowing down, right? It wasn't like he just never stopped and didn't know that he was being summoned to stop. It appears to slow down and then take off. So the very least would be, hey, he knew he was about to get a ticket of some kind, which, by the way, I probably wouldn't have been that big of a violation, a traffic violation. Took off, but didn't know that he hit the officer. So that's probably the best defense.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is he was fleeing, and during fleeing, he hit the officer. So I don't know if you could use that as a defense. His attorney has gone into court and said that it was never his intention to hit that officer. But we still have the fact that he fled the scene of the accident. He ended up getting into, a subsequent accident where the motorcycle.
Wow, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because what could have just, been a ticket, right? Ticket. Now it's escalated because the motorcyclist made things apparently a lot worse for everyone. Okay, we're going to talk about why. But soon the area is swarming with police officers checking in on their brother in blue, hunting for a motorcycle with 2 people on it. And a witness who had been sitting at a nearby traffic light was able to give first responders more details.
Hit him, they almost fell off their bike, got situated. It was a guy and a girl on the back, and it had a little...
So it was a guy and a girl on that one was
bike.
It a scooter or was it a motorcycle? What color was it?
It was a motorcycle, black, I think.
And she also described what she saw the motorcyclist and rider wearing, giving officers a pretty good idea of who and what they were looking for. So Alexis, now it's not just a body cam. Now you have an eyewitness, which again, critical piece of evidence.
Well, exactly. We now we have multiple layers. I mean, I don't think he has a very strong defense. I mean, ultimately, he'll probably plead this out, but I'm sure we're going to get to this. He has bigger fish to fry on another matter. But we now have the video. We have witnesses saying that it appeared to them that he did hit we don't know what his intent was, but it appeared to the witness to intentionally hit the officer.
Okay, so then, soon, calls came in over the radio that there had been a wreck just a few miles away on the MacArthur Causeway, and a silver Triumph motorcycle had apparently hit multiple vehicles, injuring both the motorcyclist and his passenger. According to the police report, quote, the investigation later on revealed that he fled at a high rate of speed westbound on the MacArthur Causeway after hitting the officer. Defendant passed other vehicles on the causeway on the right shoulder, marked bicycle lane. Defendant was also caught on video running the red light at MacArthur and Palm Island at a high rate of speed. So an officer drove the eyewitness to the scene of the crash, where she confirmed that the suspects were who she had seen hit the officer. And according to police, the officer himself was actually driven past the scene of the crash on the way to the hospital. The report reads, while Miami Beach Fire Rescue Number 11 was transporting Officer A. Guzman to Jackson Hospital, they stopped at the scene of the crash. Officer A. Guzman was able to look out the window of the rescue unit and identified the defendant as the driver of the vehicle that struck him. Officer Guzman reportedly had broken ribs and serious bruising. Lexus, back to you. Now we have another identification from the alleged victim themselves on the way to the hospital. This is now just escalated a further step. And that's, by the way, we talk about, unfortunately, on Sidebar so many times where you don't have an identification from the victim because the consequences are dire and they're either in critical condition or they're deceased. But now you have a very seriously injured officer who's able to go to this next stage and make the identification.
Well, I mean, this goes towards the fact that it was the same bike that we see in the video that he stopped, and it wasn't another bike or another individual that was involved in that subsequent accident, which is very important for the prosecution. I mean, this is a strong case with the video. They've made that connection. And like I said before, the fact that he believes, the defendant believes that he wasn't intending to hit him isn't really relevant when you put it together with all the other factors that are here: the fleeing, the reckless driving, the subsequent accident, all the eyewitness testimony, the charge of acting recklessly, driving recklessly. Coupled all that together, it doesn't, his attorney saying that probably isn't, if this goes before a jury, which I don't necessarily think it will, I think it'll be pled out before that he, that they're going to necessarily believe that because of all of his other actions. Like you said before, Jesse, if he would have hit him and then stopped and been like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to do that, that would be a completely different scenario.
So at this point, the suspect, again identified as Armando Fogaça, was arrested.
Osman, do me a favor. Can you take off your backpack? Stand up for me real quick. Take it off.
I'm okay. Turn around. Put your hands behind your back. You're just going to be the same for now, right? Okay. Do you have any firearms or anything like that on you? Okay. What is?
Related to the hit and run, or not having on a motor helmet.
It's more likely is just like that.
There's no possibly related.
Traffic your phone.
04150.
Yeah, where's the first unit that has the 19?
Just not a 917, 94 by 605. So the easy bus is just past the
Ma'am, stay over here.
bridge.
Over there.
Alright, we're gonna stop there first for a minute.
You can probably see it in the video. While Fogaça had some road rash, he wasn't seriously injured. But his passenger, who police say is his wife, you could see her lying on the ground waiting to be seen by paramedics.
¿Alguna pistola o algo acá? Okay.
2037 Arnold 94.
Alright.
Hey, mommy, how you doing? What's hurting you the most? Back pain? Okay. Helmet was on? Your LOC initially.
El casco no te lo tenías puesto tú.
Yo quité ahora.
So she did have a helmet. She didn't lose consciousness.
Não, mais aqui. Solamente aqui. Pelo hip.
It's just the hip. It's just she's on with the hip.
Okay, mom. We're gonna take it to Jackson Hospital.
Usted va a ir al hospital. Hey, we have to wait a little bit, okay? We have a unit coming over because they're possibly involved in a class, involved in another officer, criminal. Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna load it in the truck, take care of it there. You come whenever. Any info? For the witness.
28, you talking?
Wait, a couple of minutes, we're pulling them now.
28, you talking?
I copy. They will be here in a minute.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere. We'll be right there.
Okay, now she was apparently taken to a trauma hospital where she reportedly told police her husband was driving the motorcycle when the officer tried to stop them. According to NBC Miami, she reportedly told officers that she and Fogaça were late for a fitness class that they were supposed to be hosting, and she says he was going between 80 and 100 miles an hour when they took off from the scene before crashing the motorcycle, which, by the way, is registered in her name. Okay, Alexis, as far as we know, she is not facing any sort of charges. Could that change? What would be the consequences, or what would be the circumstances, I should say, for her to be facing any sort of criminal charges here?
Well, first of all, let's talk about, was he the Terminator? He's in this motorcycle accident, and I think the wife also said that he was going like between 80 and 100 miles an hour, and he's just like walking around. That's incredible. He might want to put that on his Instagram. But I'm not seeing any way they would charge her based on what we know so far. She was on the back of the motorcycle. She was not driving. She wasn't the one that crashed. She seemed to be cooperating as much as she could after the fact with the police. So I'm not seeing a crime there. The fact that you're bringing up that it was licensed in the motorcycle in her name is interesting because, he is currently being held without bond for two reasons. One, because of the charge where we have the aggravated battery on the law enforcement officer, or the Leo as we refer to it. But also he's on an immigration hold because he was driving without a driver's license and apparently had a Brazilian passport. So, I think she might have some issues with her auto insurance for the insurance with the motorcycle. But other than that, I'm not seeing any criminal charges that will possibly be filed against her.
Unless she, and there's no evidence of this, unless she encouraged him to speed, right? Or encouraged him to take off. I guess that would be a difference.
I mean, yeah, if we have that, but we haven't heard anything.
Right,
the
right,
police
right.
officer isn't saying. I mean, yeah, if there was some other factors that come out later, then there possibly could be charges. But what we know now, it doesn't appear to be, that. And it's lucky, even though she was taken to the trauma center, and I think that for a little while she may have been in, critical care. But I don't believe she has. I believe she's been released and she's fine.
Right. Okay, so now the officer takes this eyewitness back to her car at the first collision scene, where she ends up providing more information about what she apparently saw.
My guess is that he was trying to stop them like this, and they just hit him. And I don't know where they hit him. I thought they ran over his legs.
No, I mean, I don't see any.
He didn't look like he had any blood. I thought he was.
The motorcycle never fell. She says that it looked like if it jumped up.
And she almost fell off, and they tipped sideways.
Yeah.
And then he was able to ride it back up, and then took off.
So there shouldn't be any markings unless if we see something from the officer. But I didn't see any blood on Tony.
Yeah, and I kind of thought maybe he would have hit his head because he fell back so hard.
Okay.
But when I came back around to see you guys and he was standing, I was like, oh, maybe they nicked him. I don't know.
Okay.
By the way, Alexis, how reliable is eyewitness testimony when there is a very chaotic scene like this happening in real time, quite quick? I mean, I wonder how human memory works. Is it one of these events where, because it's so traumatic, you might remember all the details, especially quickly in time? It's not like she's being interviewed a week later. Or in your experience, is that something that defense attorneys can challenge a little bit, given the hectic nature of what happened?
So juries love eyewitness testimony, but there's been studies done on eyewitness testimony in chaotic and in non-chaotic situations, and it is not reliable. It just isn't. But, they've done study after study. And even there, she was saying she, wasn't sure where he was hit, was his legs ran over. I mean, where was she? Also, even what goes towards that reliability is where was she visually? Like, what was in it? But as she was saying this, if I was a defense attorney, I would argue that the police officer jumped in front of the motorcycle and that he was trying to avoid him. I mean, there's different defenses. Now, whether a jury is going to buy that, I don't know.
Well, I want to talk about, and this is something we mentioned before, about why Fogaça may have fled what could have been a very minor traffic stop. So apparently he doesn't have a driver's license. His wife apparently told police that he only has a Brazilian passport. There's no valid driver's license and no motorcycle endorsement. So Fogaça reportedly told police that he didn't intend to hit the officer, but the body camera video may seem to dispute that. Now he's facing 4 serious charges: hit and run with serious bodily injuries, reckless driving causing serious bodily injury, fleeing or eluding a police officer, and causing a collision with serious injuries while driving without a license. Alexis, what kind of consequences could he be looking at here?
Well, he could be looking at a lot of time in jail, but I think the bigger issue and a lot of the more questions that I have are about what you brought up about the passport. Okay, so if you come here and you're a visitor, you can rent a car for a certain amount of time, for instance, and be able to drive in the United States on more or less your passport. But it gets into how long was he in this country? Was he on a visitor's visa, or was he here some, and this is under investigation right now, had he overextended his stay? So it's my understanding that he had that Brazilian passport. I'm not sure his status, and whether he was allowed to drive here. But you also, on top of having your passport, if you're a tourist, for instance, you have to have a valid license in the country that you are in to be able to drive here as well. So we're not even sure if he had, let's say, the equivalent of a Brazilian driver's license along with that passport. And this may be that he didn't have any of that. It may be that he's overstayed, any visa, that he's not supposed to technically be in the country. And that is why the motorcycle was in the wife's name, for instance, and he was probably not listed as an operator on that because, like you said, it sounds like he didn't have that motorcycle endorsement either. We don't know for sure those things, but the way it's laying out and the fact that he is on an immigration hold currently as well, that it sounds like there are some issues having to do with him being in this country at the time of that accident.
Yeah, it's true. Fox 35 Orlando has reported that he is facing an immigration hold. He remains behind bars. His next court date is scheduled for August 7th. It does make me wonder, though, is this a case, given the evidence that we've seen so far, where you try to cop a plea, and what would that look like? Is that even on the table? Because I'm struggling to find what could be a possible defense. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but it seems to me, would a plea even be on the table? Is that something that could be negotiated? Or if you're dealing with the case of a hit and run of an officer, that might not be on the table.
Miami-Dade likes to plea. So there's going to be a plea that's offered on the table. He's still got a lot of different, even if you have the defense attorney go in and fight on that, which is the higher charge, that assault on law enforcement officer, you still have the fleeing, you still have the reckless driving. The driving without the license isn't such a big deal, other than the fact it was seriously bodily harm to somebody. So, I mean, they still have a lot that they could put their teeth in, but with this immigration, the plea is going to be very touchy with what he's able to take, because if he pleads to a felony, then even if you didn't have necessarily, you weren't here illegally, but you were here, let's say, on a different status, you could potentially be deported for that. So immigrants have to be very careful to what they plead to. So that's going to take have to be taken into consideration. But if he is just blatantly not here on any status, that he is here illegally, then at that point it really isn't going to much matter to him, because the bigger issue is he's going to be kicked out of the country anyways at the end of, if he ends up serving time. So probably procedurally the way it's going to go is he'll plead to something, maybe not with any jail time, and then he'll be deported. That's the way it looks like it's going to unfold at this point on the limited information we have.
Alexis Rosenberg, thanks for coming on and breaking down this body cam footage in this case with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, as always.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.